Hi friends, today we are going to discuss about bryophytes. So under the plant kingdom we have already covered what? We have already covered algae. Now the second one what we are going to discuss is bryophytes. Okay. Now hope you had your Onam holidays enjoyed. Now let us move into the chapter. So bryophyte characteristics. Bryophytes are referred to as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Amphibians, what is an amphibian? Which can live both in water as well as on land. We call it as what? Amphibians. So when you are seeing this bryophytes, in order to complete their life cycle, they need water, which means for sexual reproduction, for the transfer of male gamete to the female, what is needed? Water is playing a major role. Without water they cannot. So for that they can live on land, but they need water for what? Sexual reproduction. That's why both is needed, both water as well as land. That's why we call it as what? The amphibians of the plant kingdom. Now when you are looking into the plant body, it can be of two types. It can be like a thallus or it can be an erect structure. Okay. So bryophytes, if you are looking, this is this example for what? The bryophytes. So now you see the plant body can be a thallus like this, or it can be an erect structure like this. So both are possibles, and they are having root like structure, which root like structure is called as rhizoids, and this root like structure is helping in attaching the plant to the substratum. It can be soil, it can be rocks, on that to get attached. Which one is playing a major role? The rhizoids, which can be unicellular. Okay, so one single cell projecting like this along filament like, or it can be multicellular. You can find many cells projections coming out, the root like. Okay, so these are called as what? Rhizoids, which is helping in fixing the plant. That is the second characteristics. Third, main plant body is a gametophyte. You can also find a sporophyte stage. Now what is a gametophyte and what is a sporophyte? You have to know, isn't it? So moving on to the explanation for gametophyte and sporophyte, listen what is a gametophyte and what is a sporophyte. We have already discussed about meiosis division, isn't it? So our cells, when you are seeing, all cells are having how many number of chromosome? 46. This 46 number of chromosome we refer it as 2n, double the set. Okay. So 2n is 46 for us. This 2n condition is referred to as diploid. What do we call them? Diploid. Okay. So what do you mean by diploid? 2n. 2n means twice the number of chromosomes. How much it is in case of us? 46. But when this 2n in reproductive organs, testes in male and ovaries in female, they undergo a division called as what? Meiosis, isn't it? So when this meiosis is taking place, actually what is happening? This 2n is converted into n, which means the diploid is converted into haploid. Okay. So n is referred to as what? Haploid. 2n is referred to as what? Diploid. N is half the number of chromosome. 2n is the full set of chromosome in an organism. Is that clear? Now when I am saying gametophyte, the term I am using, it refers to haploid condition. What does it refers to? Haploid. And when I am using the term sporophyte, which means it is diploid, it is having what condition? 2n. So 2n is what? Diploid condition. We call it as what? Sporophyte. Okay. So when you are seeing there is alternation of generation in bryophytes, you can find a gametophytic stage also as well as a sporophytic stage also. Like we also have gametophytic stage and sporophytic stage. They are also having what? The gametophytic and sporophytic stage. Okay. So what is the gametophytic stage? When you are seeing how does the gamete, the main plant body is a gametophyte. Main plant body is a gametophyte. Okay. So the thallus, when you are seeing, it can be a male thallus or it can be a female thallus. Clear? So if it is a male thallus, thallus means what? Listen carefully. Now if you are looking into this structure, you can find this one, isn't it? So this is a gametophyte. This leafy stage, we call it as what? A gametophyte. When they are producing a structure like this, it is converted into a sporophyte stage. So you can find both the gametophyte and the sporophyte is in the individual plant. Okay. So what is a gametophyte? If you are looking into the cellular structure here, how the cells are made up of, they are having how many number of chromosome? Each cell will be having how many number of chromosome? N. How many number of chromosome? N. Okay. Now this gametophyte, what is actually happening is that in the gametophyte, you can find since it is a gametophyte, they are having what? They are resembling the sex organs. The male sex organ we call it as antheridium, and the female sex organ we call it as archegonium. In the antheridium, what will be produced? They will be producing sperms, isn't it? In the archegonium, what will be produced? They will be producing egg, right? So in the antheridium, actually we don't use it as the term sperm, male gamete is produced, and in the archegonium, what is produced? The female gamete is produced. So when you are looking this structure is given, they are matured up, they are giving rise to archegonia, the female sex organ, and antheridia, the male sex organ. Now how does this female and male sex organs look like? You see, this is an example for archegonia. Archegonia will be having a structure like this, minute inside detail if you are seeing, okay. Antheridia will be having a structure like this, okay. So in this antheridia only what is produced? The male gamete. In the archegonia, what is produced? In the archegonia, the female gamete, okay. Now actually what is happening? These antheridia are motile. Motile means what? They can move, they have flagella. This antheridia moves and it comes through this and it enters what? The egg, okay, and thereafter they will fuse. What is happening? They are fusing. After they fuse, they form zygote. This zygote is going to give rise to which one? They will be going to give rise to this sporophyte. So the zygote starts dividing and it gives rise to a capsule like structure. This one is having all the cells, how many in number? 2n. What is the number of when you are seeing each cell, how much it is? It is 2n condition, okay. Now this 2n, when you are seeing this capsule, inside the capsule, what is the condition there? It is 2n, isn't it? So the 2n cells which are having diploid number of chromosomes, they will be undergoing meiosis. What they are going to undergo? Meiosis. And what they will produce? They will be producing N, isn't it? I told you meiosis, when it is taking place, reduction. So from 2n again what is produced? N is produced. Again this N is acting like spores. What they are acting like? Spores. And then they fall on the soil. What will happen? Substratum. This N will be giving rise to a new gametophyte. From the gametophyte, again the archegonia and antheridia, when the mixing is taking place, you can find again what is coming? The sporophyte. Again in the sporophyte, what is happening? Haploid spores are produced, they are falling down and again they are multiplying. Like that their life cycle will continue. To make it more clear, we can see with the help of this life cycle diagram, okay. So when you are looking into the structure, you can find the structure is somewhat like this is the starting, okay. So I told you a bryophyte is having both the gametophyte as well as the sporophyte together, right. So the bottom part is the gametophyte N condition, sporophyte is 2N condition, right. So when you are seeing these leaf like structures, all these things are what? They are the gametophyte. This part is what? It is the sporophyte. In the sporophyte there is a structure called as what? Capsule. In the capsule what will be happening? Meiosis division. What they will produce? They will produce spores. What they will be producing? Spores. Now what is the condition of the spore? They are haploid, isn't it? So this haploid spores, when you are seeing, they will be giving rise to a thallus like structure. We call it as here in mosses, we call it as protonemata, okay. This thallus again will be, means if it is a male, then it will turn into what? A male gametophyte. And if it is a female, it will turn into a what? A female gametophyte. The male gametophyte later what they will give rise to? Antheridia. Female gametophyte what they will give rise to? Archegonia. Under water, in the influence of water, the antheridia will come and fuse with the archegonia. That process we call it as fertilization. Then what will be produced? Zygote will be produced, isn't it? This zygote will be going on dividing and they will be giving rise to again this what? The sporophyte, and the sporophyte again will undergo meiosis and they will be producing spores. The spores will be giving rise to gametophyte, either male gamete or female, isn't it? If it is a haploid having the male chromosome, then it will give rise to what? A male, and if it is female, then it will giving rise to female. Again, you can find the fertilization is taking place and the life cycle is continued. So this is how the life cycle is taking place here. Now, so you can divide it into two stages. What are the two stages? One is the haploid stage and this one is the diploid stage, isn't it? So from here you can find this is haploid. So I will draw once again. So these are all here. For after meiosis you can find what? It is haploid, right? So till this it is what? Haploid. After fertilization all these parts are what? Diploid. Clear? So diploid, and again they will be producing what? They will be giving rise to haploid cells. So like this you can find the life cycle is taking place. Hope it's clear. Nobody is having any doubt, because it is a very important part which you have to learn. Okay. Now moving on to the next part is your so plant body is haploid gametophyte. Male sex organ we call it as what? Antheridia. Antheridia, what they produce? They produce male gamete. Okay, biflagellated. So male gamete, biflagellated male gamete. Female, what they produce? They produce egg. Okay. Sporophyte, where it is attached? It is attached to the gametophyte. We have discussed already. So you can find the sporophyte is attached to the gametophyte. Clear? Yes. Thereafter, sporophyte is having three parts. How many parts are there in the sporophytes? What are the three parts in the sporophyte? You can find the foot. Foot means what? The through which it is getting attached. That structure we call it as what? We call it as foot. Seta is the this part. Okay, the stalk-like structure we call it as seta, and the capsule. Okay, so when you see the sporophyte is made up of what and all? It is made up of foot, seta, and capsule. So sporophyte is made up of foot with which it is attached. Okay, seta is the long one and the capsule. That is the structure of what? The sporophyte. Now some cells in the capsules, they will be undergoing what division? They will be undergoing meiosis, and they will be producing what? They will produce spores. The spores will again form what? Germinate into a new gametophyte. And again in the gametophyte you can find male and female are fusing. They are resulting in what? Formation of the sporophyte. In the sporophyte again meiosis is taking place and the cycle is continued. Is that clear? Yes. So this is regarding your characteristic features of your this one bryophytes. Now we are moving on to the next topic, importance of bryophyte. Now this bryophytes, if you are seeing, they are used for as a food. How we are using it? We are using it as a food. As well as this peat, when you see, this is used for making fuel. Fuel means what? The bryophytes are collected, then it is dried. Okay, like cow dung cake and all we make and we use it as a fuel. Here also the peat is done. Bryophytes are collected, they are dried and they are made into thick blocks, and they can be used for heating purpose. Okay. Along with that, this peat, that bryophytes, when you are seeing, these bryophytes can be used as a packing material for carrying some living organisms, because they can store water. So if you want to keep some living organism, living plantlets or something like that, living part of any animals, if you want to specimen, you have to keep it, they need water, right? Now when you are keeping this animals or the plant parts in the bryophytes means what? The bryophytes are collected, and if you are keeping it there, it is very good, because bryophytes, if you are putting water, they can hold much amount of water and keep it for longer duration of time. It will not be evaporated. They can absorb a lot of water and keep it within themselves. So it is used as what? A packing material. Okay, so it can be used as a fuel for burning, as well as it can be used as a packing material. Fuel, you have to first collect it, make a cake, thereafter you have to dry it, and then you can use it for heating. Okay, packing, you have to collect it, you have to soak it with water, and this can be used for packing living organism, which will be helping in transporting in through ships from one place to another. This for packing the things so that water is stored for a longer duration. Then lichen and mosses, when you are seeing, they are forming a pioneer species. Pioneer means what? Imagine this was a hill. Okay, there were no plantation was possible in this hill. Now First, when they are finding out the climatic conditions are favorable, lichen and moss, what they do is that they go and start staying on the rocks. Okay. Now what they will do, these lichens and mosses, they will start weathering. Weathering means what? They will convert those rock materials into soil particles. Okay. So after converting these soil particles, now what will happen? The weathering of rock has taken place, soil is formed. Now the birds will be collecting seeds from somewhere and then they will be putting onto the soil. If it is on the rocks, they cannot grow. But if it is in the soil, what will happen? The plants will start growing and gradually you can find there the plants starting to develop on the hills. So for first to enter into the rocky surface and to start a new adaptation, when you are seeing who is playing a major role, these lichen as well as mosses. Mosses are nothing but bryophytes. Okay, mosses and liverworts are coming under bryophytes. We will be discussing. So this mosses is forming a pioneer species. First they go there, stay, and they start weathering of soil. Thereafter what they will do, they will be helping in giving rise to what? A new plant. Okay, so seeds and all, when they are coming into the soil, they will automatically they will give rise to a forest. Maybe first there was nothing, after years when you go and see, it is turned into a forest. So there the pioneer species is what? The first species is the lichen or the mosses on some new adapted, means new area, right? And next is they form the dense mats on soil. Yeah, they are creating a mat on the soil, you know, the lichens when you are seeing. So the mosses or any bryophytes when you see, so these are making a layer, isn't it? So when they make a layer, what happens is that on the soil will not be eroded by wind or water, it will not be carried away. Like that, they are playing a major role in preventing what? Soil erosion. So these were the importance of what? Bryophytes. Okay. Now the two main classes of bryophytes we are going to discuss. So what are the two main classes? So for the first class, when you are seeing, just a minute, let me see just the diagrams I thought of showing. Yeah, this is bryophyte. Okay, example. Again, this one is also a bryophyte. You can look into, right? Yeah. So this one you can see peat for, I told you, packing materials. So in order to keep the living organisms and all, the plant survive for some duration of time from one place to another, it has to be carried. You can store it like this. So water will be held for a long duration of time. The roots can get the water from the same. Okay. So these are all examples for what? The bryophytes. So the first one what we are going to discuss is two main classes. There are two main classes. One is mosses, second one is liverworts. First we are going to discuss about liverworts. Okay. So liverworts. So how does the liverworts look like? So when you are seeing the liverworts, they are dorsiventral thallus. Thallus, I told you what is a thallus looking like, right? So in the beginning itself we have discussed how the thallus, it will be somewhat like this. This is the structure of what? The liverworts. You need not see the other one. So this is what? This is liverworts. So liverworts, I have showed you the diagram. Now moving on to the characteristic features of the liverworts. Dorsiventral thallus. So dorsiventral means, so this is my hand. My hand is dorsiventral. Dorsiventral means the upper surface is different from the lower surface. You can find the upper surface is having a cuticle like a covering. Okay, cuticle means what is that? Waxy coating will be present. Okay, so that is cuticle which is present in where? In the upper surface. On the lower surface you cannot find it. So the plant body is dorsiventral thallus. Vegetative propagation is taking place. Fragmentation we discussed. Asexual reproduction is taking place by special structures which we call it as gemme. What do we call them? We call it as gemme. Now you want to see what is gemme. You can find this structure, ma. So this one what you can see is what? This one we call it as gemme. Yeah. So this you can find, right? So this is gemme. So what is gemme? Gemme is bud-like structure which is growing on the gametophyte. When this bud, because of water, it is detached from the parent plant body, if it is falling onto the suitable substratum, this gemme can give rise to a new gametophyte, new plant it can be giving rise to. Okay, so main plant body is a gametophyte. Gametophyte is the main one, and there they are producing some bud-like structures. That bud-like structure is called as gemme, through which asexual reproduction is taking place. When this bud falls down, they give rise to what? They give rise to a new plant. So that is the characteristic feature of the liverworts, right? So vegetative reproduction, fragmentation, asexual reproduction by gemme. Okay, sexual reproduction, I told you they are having male antheridia, female archegonia. This male antheridia, female archegonia, gametophyte. Antheridia produces anthrozoids, the male gamete, which goes and fuses with the female gamete. They will help in the formation of a zygote. This zygote is developing into what? It is developing into a sporophyte. Having what and all will be present? They have a foot, they have seta, and they have capsule, isn't it? So inside the capsule there are special cells. They will undergo what? They will undergo meiosis. They will help in the formation of spores. The spores will again fall down and they will develop into a new gametophyte. Like that the life cycle is taking place in case of what? The liverworts. Now moving on to the mosses, gametophyte. The main plant body is a gametophyte. Gametophytes itself, we can find two stages are there. Okay, one is the protonema stage and another one is the adult leafy stage. So what is the protonema stage? Protonema is like this. In the beginning they will be having structures like this, filamentous thallus like structure. This structure we call it as what? Protonema. Later only you can find they are developing leaf like structures like this. So in the first case they will be like protonema, this like this. Okay, in the later case what will happen? They will develop leaf like structure on the tops, vertically they will be growing erect. Okay, so first they will be thallus like, thereafter they will be growing. So the thallus like stage we call it as what? We call it as protonema. So it develops by germination of spore. I told you the spores will be produced, isn't it? Who is producing the spores? In the capsule spores are produced. These produced spores, when they are falling on the suitable substratum, they first forms what? This structure. They will divide and form filament like structure. This one we call it as what? Protonema or protonemata can also be called. Okay, so it is formed by germination of spore. It can be creeping branched filamentous. So it is creeping, it is branched, and it is filament like structure. Adult leafy stage, later they will develop into what? The adult leafy stage. So when they are growing up, secondary protonema means from the thallus they will start growing erect. They are called as what? Secondary protonema. Then they will be forming lateral buds and all will be coming. You can find leaf like structures and all will start developing. That one we call it as what? Adult leafy stage. Now mosses, vegetative reproduction is with the help of fragmentation or budding. Budding can be considered as asexual also, gemma cup only, and sexual reproduction is taking place the same. One is antheridia, alternation of generation we have already learned, isn't it? So in that what we learned, this is regarding your mosses. So mosses, gametophyte is the stage, both male and female gametes are present. These male and female gametes are having structures called as what? Antheridia and archegonia, isn't it? So so this is gametophyte and this one is sporophyte. In the sporophyte meiosis is taking place and they are producing spores. One is developing into, which is spore is having the male chromosome is turning into what? The male gametophyte. The female one is turning into female gametophyte. This is the gametophyte. In the gametophyte, because of water, there is a transfer of male gamete, okay, from the male part into the female gamete. Now fertilization will take place. They will result in the formation of what? A zygote. The zygote will start dividing and they will give rise to a sporophyte. What they will be giving rise to? They will give rise to a sporophyte, and in that sporophyte again in the capsule meiosis will take place and spores are formed and the cycle will be repeated. So with this we are coming to the end of the bryophytes. In the next class we will be discussing about pteridophytes. Okay, hope it's clear. Thank you.